Okay, talk to me. Going into this review, the less I tell you, the better. But I will say one of the best horror films I've seen in maybe a decade. So anyway, let's review Talk to Me. Talk to Me stars Sophie Wilde, Joe Bird, Alexandra Jensen, and is directed by Danny and Michael Filippo. What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2023 review, and honestly, one of my most anticipated movies of this year. If not my most anticipated, I'll say this right now about A24. Even if I don't like everything that they put out, I look forward to everything that they put out, especially horror. Because I know, if anything, I'm going to get creativity, I'm going to get outstanding filmmaking, and I'm going to get unique. And you know, if those three things right there, they go a long way for me. And this movie was all those things, but also just a really magnificent story with an ending that is such, I'll just say, really satisfying. I'm being very careful with my words here because there's so many other words I'd love to say.
I'll do it. Cannot go for more than 90 seconds. I might clear.
What happens after 90 seconds?
Put your hand on it.
I knew going into this movie, as soon as, you know, our main character Mia grabs that hand, what happens after that, I immediately I knew I don't want to tell my audience what happens after that. You know, yeah, we see her reaction in the trailer, but as far as what happens to cause that reaction, and it's been a while since I saw the trailer, but I'll say I'm betting that they didn't really show, and thank God they didn't, because this is just one of those movies that I don't really want you to know, because I think you'll just enjoy it that much more. But I will say the audience that I was with, it was an advanced screening with critics, packed audience, and everybody's reaction, you could tell they were there for a horror movie. I'll say that. But also deafening silence in some moments. And I know the reason for that is because you are just simply gripping your chair the entire time while you're watching this movie. This might be the first horror movie in a long time where I literally could not let go of my chair. I didn't even want to eat my food. And I was just hanging on every scene and every character's reaction. So anyway, let me back up a little bit. Let me give you a quick plot synopsis to kind of set the table for you. And then I'll tell you what I just loved about this movie. And I'll say this right now, going forward, probably the best modern horror movie I've seen since It Follows. And I know that's a controversial statement, given how divisive It Follows is. I know a lot of you don't like that movie, and some of you are just completely smitten with that movie, just like me. This might have the same reaction, all right? It's hard for me to tell right now. If I had to give you a knee-jerk reaction to the audience, I think most of them will probably be more accepting of this movie, because if anything, it is scary. There are some genuine scares in this movie, but the scares are really more part of the story and not just, you know how a lot of modern horror movies, they just kind of plant scares. We'll put a scare here and a here, so that way we can just satisfy our... No, these scares in this movie are very organic. See, I still haven't given you a plot synopsis. Jesus. This is why I'm probably the worst reviewer on YouTube. But it's just my way. I got to do it this way. So anyway, let's set you up with a quick plot synopsis. Our main characters are Mia, Riley, and Jade. Riley and Jade are brother and sister, and they are a very important piece of this puzzle. They all just go to this party. By the way, this movie is an Australian film, and I'm very happy for that. Usually our Australian horror films, they don't let me down. But they go to this party. And you know how when you go to these parties, you like to do these scary I dare yous. You know, I dare you to say a certain word in the mirror 3 times. Well, this is like, I dare you to grab hold of this hand. Say, talk to me. That's the whole gimmick here. You say, talk to me, and then the horror of the movie, it might happen or it might not. You know? So they play around with this scenario quite a bit. And as far as payoff, horror payoff, oh boy, it's definitely there. It's definitely there. But this is kind of one of those rabbit hole movies. Mia is really our main character. And let me emphasize character, because this is a person that has a rough past, given the tragedies that have happened. I won't say exactly what tragedy, but she's got a lot on her shoulders. It's like every decision she makes, even like with good intentions, ends up going the negative way. You know, it feels like the world is on her shoulders, even amongst her friends. It's irresistible to build a character like that and attach it to this type of premise. What happens when she grabs hold of that hand? And then she has this best friend, Jade, who's dating her ex-boyfriend. But Jade really has more of a stable life, you know, happy, family, even though I don't really think there's a father in the picture. But, you know, she's got her mother and her brother, and they seem very happy. Her mother, Sue, is played by Miranda Otto. You might know her from Lord of the Rings. And she's fabulous in this. But, you know, you can tell she's a very caring parent. She's very protective of her children. And there's some funny moments with her, and believe me, this is not a comedy horror movie at all, okay? This is a very serious movie. So she's kind of that breath of fresh air that you need, that you can breathe every now and then, because everything outside of Miranda Otto is heavy, really heavy, but in the best way. Oh, a word on the violence and the scares, because I kind of touched on that earlier. This movie is scary. I'm not the type of person that gets scared easily, and I really wasn't scared, but I was more in shock at some of the images that I saw in this movie, and I think that's why I was gripping my chair so much. But I can tell you right now, a lot of the audience, they were scared. There are some terrifying scenes, I think, to some of you, but I think scares are very much subjective, kind of like comedy is. And if you're wondering if this movie is bloody, yes, there is definitely some blood in this movie. But it doesn't depend on that. I think just the scenes that require blood, they definitely give you an ample amount, all right? But this is definitely a genuine horror movie, for sure. This is not a gateway horror movie, all right? This is gonna freak some people out, for sure. So really, that's all I can tell you plot-wise. I can't really talk about what happens after, you know, you meet these characters and Mia grabs hold of that hand. But the course of events that follows after she grabs that hand feels like a rabbit hole, you know, and it gets darker and darker and darker. And I'll just say probably the best ending for a horror movie I've seen in quite a few years. Extremely satisfying. And that's not stating that it's a happy ending or a sad ending. I'm just saying it's just a very satisfying ending that I did not see coming at all. There was a gasp, and it was freaking awesome. And you get the feeling with this ending that it was all planned from the get-go. It didn't feel like one of those movies where you know, the train tracks are laid as the train is going and they got to figure out what the ending is. No, I feel like the ending was planned automatically, but it's wonderful. There is nothing bad about this movie at all. It really got me thinking as I left the theater. As a matter of fact, there was this guy, this young kid, he didn't see the movie, and I was leaving the theater and I was just on a high, and he was like, "Hey, what did you just see Talk to Me?" And I was like, yeah, I did. And he's like, what did you think of it? Is it okay if I record you? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I didn't even tell him, you know, that I have a YouTube channel or anything. I was like, yeah, and I kind of unloaded on his phone what I was feeling at the time. So maybe that video will surface somewhere on the internet. That would be kind of cool. But yeah, I had to unload it on somebody. So it was nice that I had a guy there with his cell phone and he wanted my reaction. But yeah, freaking Trapped on an Island. This movie surprised the hell out of me. I had a feeling it was going to be great, but you know, it exceeded my expectations. A24 has my heart for the rest of eternity. Thank God for A24. And you know, horror just constantly will not die, ironically. You know, it is the genre that has loyal fans, but constantly we get great content, original, creative content, and it's just so refreshing. So please go see this movie when it comes out. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Fearful Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on my social support me on Patreon, buy me a coffee. And you guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Drumdum out.